Polaroid's been teasing something very big for their 80th anniversary on September 13th. Let's decipher the clues and find out why I think we might be seeing a new Polaroid camera and new Polaroid film. Hey fellow photographers, what did you shoot today? And did you shoot it on a Polaroid? If you go to Polaroid's website, you'll see a countdown and it will cycle through a bunch of different statements that hint at a big event coming on September 13th. Let's take a look at what some of them may mean. Of the 9 messages that scroll on the website, 2 don't necessarily tell us much. One message reads, "The long and winding road from ski goggles to September 13th." Now this message is really an homage to Polaroid's humble beginnings as a manufacturer of lenses and sort of ski goggles and glasses that were polarized. Another message states, "On Polaroid's 80th anniversary, we take the first step towards the next 80. Again, not telling us much besides that it's the 80th anniversary. Now here's where it gets interesting because I think 5 of the 9 messages actually hint towards new Polaroid film. One message states, "Analog Dreams, September 13th. Well, film is obviously an analog process, and although we've had some recent digital offerings from Polaroid, like the Polaroid Cube, which is a GoPro session-like action camera, and the Polaroid Snap, which is a digital instant camera, we haven't heard much in the way of film." Another statement says, "On September 13th, a challenge set forth by a 3-year-old girl in 1943 will be answered again." Now this is referring to sort of where the idea of Polaroid film came from, because Dr. Edwin Land, the inventor of the process, was on vacation with his family when his daughter, who was 3 years old at the time, asked him, "Hey Daddy, why can't I see the picture that you just took of me?" And this was the spark that started it all. Dr. Land would go on to develop instant film simply from that inspiration. Up next we have the statement, "The most complex set of man-made chemical reactions ever, coming September 13th. Now this definitely hints at a new chemical process, hopefully superior to the current offerings from the Impossible project. Original Polaroid film would develop in minutes, whereas the Impossible project film we have now takes a very long time to develop and has to develop pretty much in darkness. Now I'm not saying that Polaroid is going to be able to recreate the film that they used to produce because environmental regulations set forth by the EPA have pretty much outlawed the use of certain chemicals that were used in the prior process. But hopefully, because the Impossible project and Polaroid have come together, they can share knowledge and resources and patents and come up with a new film chemistry. The next one's a little bit more cryptic. It says, "Clear your fridges." Well, the fridge doors at least, September 13. Now, is Polaroid going to come out with a camera that shoots directly to sort of a magnetic paper that you can slap on the fridge? I hope not, because that would be kind of silly. Now, I think it's sort of saying, hey, we're going to come out with a new film that you're going to want to show and display, the quality is going to be there, and you're going to want to hang it on the fridge and put it on picture frames. The next statement is a big one. It says, "In 1972, we made something incredibly complex, incredibly simple. On September 13, we're doing it again." Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Polaroid's history, 1972 was a landmark year. It was the year that this camera came out. Not this exact model specifically, but the SX7D design. This one's the sonar design, so it has an autofocus module on top. But the SX70 was groundbreaking for Polaroid. The SX70 was said to be revealed during a company meeting, much like sort of what Apple would do with their press releases when they released the new iterations of the iPhone. In a very Steve Jobs-esque fashion, way before Steve Jobs was Steve Jobs, Dr. Land went on stage with this camera. It was folded up. It was in his suit pocket. He would pull it out, open it. He took 5 pictures in quick succession in less than 10 seconds and showed how the film would develop right before your eyes. So for some of you that haven't had experience with the older Polaroid models, like the Land cameras here, the film used in this was peel-apart film. So after you take your exposure and you pull out the film, there's some rollers in here that would spread chemicals across the paper. But then you would get something like this. And you'd have to sit there and let it develop for 30, 60, 90 seconds, depending on the temperature and the type of film you use. And it was peel-apart film, peel-apart pack film. So you'd have to peel the film apart to get your photograph, and you were left with this sort of chemically laced piece of paper that kind of just got thrown by the wayside. Now, Dr. Landon was actually not really a fan of this because it created litter, it created a lot of waste, and he was appalled that, you know, people would take all these pictures. He loved that they were using his cameras, but he was appalled at all the waste that they were producing. Now, what made this model so revolutionary from the peel-apart film predecessor was the fact that this was an integral film cartridge, and all of the chemistry was built into the actual film, like these. And when they were exposed, there was nothing to peel apart. It would just sort of develop right before your very eyes, and you were left with no mess, just a picture, just a Polaroid. That's it. Very simple, very clean, very neat. So a lot of these statements that I've just read off definitely point to, in my opinion, a new film coming out for Polaroid. But there are two other statements, and I think we're actually going to get a new camera as well. The next statement says, in 1977, Polaroid took a big step forward. On September 13, we take another one. Now, I put the emphasis on the word step because I think that's part of the clue. In 1977, Polaroid released the one-step land camera, probably Polaroid's most iconic design, white body with the rainbow face. And the one-step was probably the most simple of all the Polaroid cameras. It simply was a button and an exposure compensation knob. That's it. There was no focusing. You know, your subject had to be at least 4 feet away for it to be in focus. There was nothing to do except take the picture. It was Polaroid for the masses. Whereas this SX70 model was probably more capable. It had focus adjustment. The fact that you could just go out and anybody could just push a button and make photographs was something that really caught on. Lastly, we have something that's very telling. SX70, OS, 600, Spectra, 8x10. Join the dots on September 13. Now this is, of course, a list of Polaroid's iconic cameras. The SX70, the one-step OS like we talked about, as well as the 600 series, the Spectra series, and their larger format cameras like 8x10. They even had a 20x24 Polaroid camera that was usually used for art reproduction. So I don't think there's going to be any chance that that's coming back, but hey, wishful thinking, right? But this last phrase is very telling. Join the dots. A new legendary Polaroid camera may be just around the corner. Now, looking at these clues, I really think we're going to get a new camera and a new film chemistry. It might not be a new format, it might be one of the old formats, but updated chemistry. But I remain cautiously optimistic because Polaroid really isn't the Polaroid of years past. Polaroid has gone through bankruptcy, it's been restructured, and actually as of May 12th, 2017, May 12th of this year, the majority stakeholder of Impossible Project also now owns and controls the majority stake of Polaroid, which means that the sort of overarching parent company of both Impossible Project and Polaroid can now share intellectual property and branding. Now, where I could see that being an issue is they could simply take Impossible Project's current film, which by all means is, you know, better than nothing, but it's still pretty bad. Now, the idea is that they could take that existing film and simply rebrand it as Polaroid film, and I really hope that doesn't happen because that would be 2 steps backwards. My hope is that the current owners of Polaroid see a market move with the popularity of things like the Fuji Instax cameras and the demand for instant film. It's really something unique, the fact that you take the picture and you get it right then and there. It doesn't go to your phone, you don't post it to Instagram, you don't do this, you know, you don't have to go into the computer in Lightroom and edit it for hours. It is what it is, and it, you know, it's quirky and it's not perfect, and the quality isn't, you know, as high end as other digital cameras or other film cameras, but it's in the moment, and it's about sort of sharing that moment with friends. And Polaroid has always been about socializing with other people, taking their picture, being able to give them something tangible, that tangible print that after you push the button, the camera, you know, does the developing. You have no more control after the composition. That's all it is. It's you behind the camera, your vision, and it just gives you that instant sort of reaction. So I think Polaroid has realized this, and I really think with their intellectual property, their patents, their years of experience, decades and decades of experience with this process, they can come up with something unique that's going to add to the space and contribute to the instant film community. So we'll just have to wait and see. Fingers crossed until September 13th. What do you think of my analysis? Do you think I'm onto something here, or could it become something completely different? What do you think Polaroid is going to announce the 13th? What do you hope they announce? What do you wish they announce? I'd love to hear all your ideas in the comments. And of course, when we get the official announcement, I'll do a follow-up video to make sure you're kept up to date and informed. But you can also go to Polaroid.com and sign up for their mailing list, and I'm sure they'll send you an email with the latest and greatest on September 13th. So until I see you then, as always, happy shooting.